Yes, guys, and welcome to the first episode of the Ref Says Play On podcast. Today, we're going to be discussing about the potential for the FA Cup final to move abroad. And I'm joined with a brilliant panel, Anthony, Ashley, and Carmichael. How are we doing, boys?
All good, all good, all good. Thank you for
Good
having
man, good
us.
man.
I'm okay.
We're going to start off by looking at the match tending supporters. And Anthony, do you think overall it's a more positive or negative change if they were to move the FA Cup final to another country?
I think overall it'd definitely be a negative change. I mean, the biggest thing we're looking at here is the accessibility for all the fans and travel costs, because the FA Cup will be playing abroad, and we're used to seeing the FA Cup being in England. Now, if the finals be played abroad, we're talking about travel, we're talking about expenses, we're talking about hotels, situations like that. And as fans, I think that's very bad and that's negatively going to affect the look of how the FA Cup final will be looking at. I think also we can also be looking at in terms of logistic wise for teams, there's a very short amount of time from the semi-finals to the finals, so there isn't really enough time to like prepare or even plan for travels. For example, the FA Cup semi-final is going to be April 26th, and then the final is going to be May 17th. So just really under a month and a half. So I think for fans wise, it's not good at all.
Of course, and obviously, with such a short turnaround, flights may already be booked to like other countries, and it's there's only a certain amount of flights or methods of transport that they can provide to get fans to other countries. Ash, do you have anything else to talk about on the fans? Do you see any positives with the FA Cup final moving abroad?
To be honest, Anthony does make a good point on the logistics of the final and, the match days being kind of too close together. So in that sense, you can, understand that. However, I feel like there are some, good positives to take, from maybe this approach of doing this. For example, in terms of if we talk about fans are very, very important. And I believe sometimes without fans in the game, sometimes things such as exposure and things such as finances that build the game of football wouldn't be a thing without the fans. So one positive I have is that it brings, if we play abroad, should they play the FA Cup abroad, it brings the opportunity to watch your team in a stadium you may never see them play before or slash again. And, for example, there are so many other remarkable stadiums around, the globe where different fans from different countries may stay in. For example, let's be real, like football's already a global game and the Premier League has fans from all over the world. You've got people coming from like Asia, America, Africa, especially, and even time zone wise, they like some fans are dedicated to, watch the games from the Premier League, even from stupid o'clock, in time of day. And I'd say in terms of that, it brings more exposure, it brings more exposure to to the English league, to acknowledge the fans who are from around the world, to kind of, have this experience and see their team perhaps play in their country, And one more thing is I'll say is not just it's not just an exposure benefit, but I'd say it's also a smart business move, You open the door to like more sponsorships, more partnerships, and more money flowing into the game of football. Like we've seen the NBA, NFL, they do it. For example, NBA tend to go to Paris sometimes to play some games. So it's like, yeah, I'd say it's more of an exposure benefit. I'd say, yeah.
Awesome. So you talk about international fan bases. Carmichael, for example, you supported Real Madrid, and Real Madrid hosted a match in England, a La Liga fixture. How would that make you feel as an international fan?
If as a Real Madrid fan, if they had a game in England,
Yeah, yeah.
oh, I'll be open to it. It's a different sort of atmosphere, especially given that it's a fan base that obviously don't have the opportunity to go across to see games in Spain. Obviously, different culture, a lot more exposure, I'd say. But
Mm.
if you're looking at know, other, if you're looking at vice versa, if an English team were to see their team go abroad in the FA Cup, it could spark debate, it could spark conflict. Obviously, me being an Arsenal fan myself, I can imagine the Arsenal fans to go to games week in, week out, and obviously Arsenal having the most FA Cups is sort of like history is also involved with it. I think you look at the Wembley stadiums in the past, and how the FA Cup is so English driven, and how it's ran, it's so English driven. So you think with the fans, obviously, with and how much they invest in competitions like the Carabao Cup and the FA Cup, it's going to be a different change. Obviously, local fans, they want to be disappointed that even look at local businesses as well. Would they be running out of business? If they don't have finals like the FA Cup to make money from. So there's a lot of things to take into consideration. But if you're looking at the grand scheme of things, it's changed. Obviously, football has changed. You look at the competition in the Spanish Super Cup is their finals being held in Saudi Arabia. So there's change in football, and I think us fans, especially English fans, need to adapt to that. But I'm fond of the idea, but I'm not sure how it would fare with the other fan bases across England.
But you touched on it there, Carmichael. You said, for example, the Spanish Super Cup final being in Saudi Arabia. Just how many opportunities, not for the fans as such, but for sponsors, for broadcasters,
Oh, yeah.
what are the opportunities there?
So many, you look opportunities, especially the FA Cup, because the FA Cup is seen as the oldest competition in football ever. I reckon companies and other big sponsorships could take advantage of that. Obviously, with that, it comes with obviously more exposure, and then it brings the clubs as well. They bring a lot more exposure to, and especially with the fans as well. Higher match day ticket revenue and higher attendances, meaning more streams and eventually more revenue. So in terms of opportunity, yeah. Because there's a lot more people in those countries that would like to invest in the FA Cup. Yeah, 100%. There's be a lot more revenue, but it's just a matter of being open to new change, and especially long term. If the FA Cup is to be played abroad on a permanent basis, you look at the amount of countries and stadiums you can go to just to cater to communities over there who don't get much exposure to, as an English fan would if they were to go to Wembley. But in terms of sponsorships, yeah, there's so many in terms of brand deals and a lot of other campaigns.
Of course.
That is one thing especially.
So obviously, I'm going to go round. I want everyone's final point, final opinion. Do you think the FA Cup final should be played abroad, and why? I'll start off. I'm going to personally say I don't think it should, because it's got such a legacy in this country. English football culture is one of the biggest football cultures there is in the world. And I think if you strip the oldest competition in the country away from us, you're going to lose all of that.
100%.
And the country will lose a big part of it as well. It's a big part in the whole country, not just football fans, but it's a big thing for England. So, Anthony, what do you think?
I agree with you, man. 100%. It should definitely stay in England. I mean, I see the opportunities elsewhere in terms of like investment, global attention, even politically. There are definitely positives there, but like you said, traditionally wise, it's so big in this country, and it's really like a staple in English culture. So it's something we really shouldn't take away or get rid of. That's my opinion.
Ash?
Yeah, man, to be honest, we can talk about the benefits and how it, benefits financially wise and exposure wise. And whilst those are two good benefits, I'd say one thing is you haven't seen them play the Copa del Rey in France or England. So I think, the traditions just should stay like that, What if it ain't broke, don't fix it,
100%.
Of course, Carmichael, one last point before we wrap it up.
I think why not? Why there's always room in football. It changes a lot. if the countries like Spain and Italy have their domestic competitions in different countries, why not? I don't see the problem in it. More money, more opportunities, and more exposure for me.
Perfect. So we want to thank everyone for listening to the first episode of the Ref Says Play On podcast, and we'll see you in the next one. Take care.